Milo hands you a smudged press lanyard outside a Soho club. He says nothing, just gestures at the back entrance, where a television presenter is fumbling with his zipper. Rain seeps through your hoodie as you grip a borrowed Nikon. You are 22 and invisible, and for the first time, someone is paying you to be. 3 weeks later, you watch the same presenter's wife hurl a suitcase down their driveway on the front page. Milo slides you 40 pounds in a greasy envelope and says your name correctly for the first time. The photograph no longer feels like yours, but the money does, and that's a different kind of shutter opening. By winter, you learn to loiter near coat checks and listen for hotel room numbers. Milo calls it composure under disgrace. You call it rent. One icy evening, a PR handler slips you his card and asks if you ever shoot for private clients. You don't say no, and the city suddenly seems smaller, hungrier, and entirely for sale. You join Red Peak Monitoring in a snowless January, assigned to a terminal that never sleeps. The cheap suit scratches your neck. Soraya Kassup, with her severe bob and paper notebook, trains you to read between headlines. She says every story is a signal that someone paid to amplify or bury. You start listening differently. 18 months in, you can distill 100 feeds into a single paragraph. Late one Tuesday, you notice a client's competitor facing a minor product recall. You bury it on page 3 of the briefing. The client sends a thank you. Soraya watches you, saying nothing. A small, warm coal lights in your chest. You want to tend it. By the end of year 2, a crisis PR firm cold calls you. They've admired your situational awareness. Over drinks, a silver-haired man describes a role where you don't just watch fires. You decide which ones get water. You shake his hand, feeling the same chill you felt outside the hotel, but now you own the door. Your first war room is glass and silence. 16 hours into a data breach, you cross-reference leaked emails against client statements. A senior partner deletes 3 contradictory lines from the draft statement, without discussion. Later, over cold Thai noodles, a legal director says, facts are just the raw footage. You keep eating. A manufacturing client's factory collapse kills 11 workers. You sit in a windowless room with a firm's comms director and a corporate lawyer, crafting a public posture that acknowledges unexpected structural stress while burying years of ignored inspection reports. You are handed a list of journalists' known vulnerabilities: financial, marital, medical, compiled by an internal team you'd never heard of. At your 2-year mark, they let you brief a billionaire client directly. His teenage son caused a fatal car crash, and you present the approved narrative arc. A sudden glare, an unavoidable swerve, a family in mourning. The father nods, asks only one question: can we make him look like he tried to save her? You say yes without blinking. Your first solo account is a manganese mining baron whose West African subsidiary faces a village displacement scandal. You fly to Geneva, check into the Mandarin Oriental, and spend 3 days crafting a narrative of voluntary relocation and community investment that his lawyers can file with regulators before the Sunday papers break. By your 2nd year, you manage 4 retainers simultaneously. You learn to read a client's actual fear within the first 10 minutes: the investor call, the spouse who might leave, the newspaper editor who won't return calls. You start billing for silence, not strategy, and your quarterly bonuses exceed your previous annual salary. A political donor from a Central European election campaign hires you through 3 shell companies. You sit in a Zurich back office with Henrik, watching him structure the engagement, so your name appears nowhere. When the donor slides a second retainer across the table, you understand. You are no longer selling narrative. You are selling invisibility. At Paragon's 40th floor boardroom, 12 analysts wait for your decision on a Balkan campaign. You expose the hidden 4th strategy, then approve it anyway. Crystal glasses, a monogrammed folder, and the silence after your nod make the change unmistakable. A decade earlier, you waited outside alleys. Now, an entire regional team holds its breath until you rise. Milo's skin is yellow in the hospice light. He jokes about the tabloid days, then grips your wrist and warns that people will always know your shape. You stay until his breathing changes. Outside, rain needles the coast. You call no one. The chauffeur waits below, engine running, while your Balkan campaign continues across 3 countries. Inside a private St. James's club, a platform consultant quietly explains how automated takedowns work. His fee equals a senior employee's annual salary, yet he keeps glancing at the door. You ask precise questions and take no notes. By midnight, you understand the system's weak points, and the steward refills your whiskey without waiting to be asked. On a frozen January morning, Henrik hands you incorporation papers for companies in Cyprus, Singapore, and Delaware. You sign at a bare steel desk in your new Soho office. Fresh paint hangs in the air. Furniture waits in a delivery van outside. The company card beneath your pen is still inactive. but the legal shell of Axiom Council is alive. Your first client arrives before the furniture is fully assembled. Lena, your first hire, maps the liability chain while you control the room from a low chair. The deposit clears through a Maltese licensing company before the meeting ends. Afterward, Lena asks whether the firm can afford a standing desk. You check the balance, smile, and approve it. The campaign closes cleanly, with every payment received and no public investigation. Your next client arrives below in 3 black vehicles while Henrik reviews the accounts over whiskey. Lena asks who built the hidden network. You answer that subcontractors handled it. From your new corner office, you watch security open umbrellas for a telecom magnate waiting to meet you. Month later, you arrive at a Dubai penthouse by chartered jet and private car. 2 guards remain outside while the Meridian director presents lawsuits spanning 3 jurisdictions. Henrik confirms the structure remotely. You name a retainer large enough to bankrupt a medium-sized firm. The director accepts without bargaining, and an entire specialist team begins moving on your timetable. Axiom expands into London, Zurich, and Singapore. Lawyers, researchers, and crisis teams wait for your encrypted morning brief before contacting clients. Your driver moves between guarded entrances, while assistants rearrange ministers, executives, and investors around your calendar. The money buys a hidden muse house and effortless travel. But the greater luxury is that powerful people now wait for you. At the peak, a private dining room stays closed until you arrive. A shipping heir, a party treasurer, and 2 corporate chairmen have already surrendered their phones outside. They stop talking when you enter. You choose which crisis receives the firm's attention, dismiss the rest, and return home past midnight as your staff continues working across 3 time zones. The leak lands on a Tuesday. 20 journalists call within an hour, yet your defensive machinery responds before breakfast. Henrik replaces signatory cards in Zurich, lawyers redirect every inquiry, and security closes the street outside your home. They have named the firm, not you. From a private room, you decline the reporter's call and keep drinking cold espresso. The conglomerate's buyout gives you an 8-0 payout and permanent anonymity. During a final video call, Lena raises the encrypted phone delivered by your courier. The secure line is hers now. You tell her to keep it powered on. Behind you, Singapore's harbor glitters below the apartment. While across London, she begins speaking with the careful authority you taught her. On your 40th birthday, you walk alone through Singapore's botanic gardens before dawn. A news alert profiles Lena, now a partner, and calls her self-made. Your name appears nowhere. You delete the alert and continue along the dark boardwalk. A gardener nods as you pass, unaware that one of your distant holding companies helps fund his pension.